Hey, welcome to the Inner Circle podcast, where growth minded leaders come together to build better businesses and better lives. I'm your host, Hector Alvarado. Here, we don't do theory, we share real lessons, real systems, and real strategies you can use right away. This is a community for people committed to growth, impact, and supporting each other on the journey. You're in the right room, my friends. Let's get started. All right, good stuff. Well, welcome everybody. We have a special edition of our weekly call. Today we've decided to just do a one-on-one interview with our co-founder and entrepreneur expert who's had many ventures through his career. We're excited to have Willy Schmidt here with us today, where we get to talk a little bit about the forthcoming year. And how do we prepare for that incoming year mentally, business wise, family wise, physically, all of those key principles and pillars that will allow us to have a successful new
Mm.
year. So let's welcome Willy Schmidt to the call here,
Yeah,
Willy.
thanks.
Let's
Thanks for
let's
having
get
me
it
on the
going.
call.
Absolutely. We don't often get a chance to sit here one on one. We sit here every week and have our inner circle community with us, and which is great. But today, having the ability to just kick back, relax, and talk about 2026.
Yeah, we're here day before Christmas doing this recording. So, yeah, it's a good time of the year to reflect, I think, on the year that we've just gone through and then look at what's ahead.
Exactly, right. And you started off with talking about reflection, and so my first question that comes to mind is before you even think about your goals
Hmm.
and what's upcoming, how do you mentally close out, the previous year or the year that you're in?
Yeah, it's not that I have a complete outline how I do it, but going through business and learning a lot about goal setting for the business, I've now adopted that idea into my personal life as well, where I was taught to always reflect back first on, okay, what are the things that worked? What are maybe some things that we need to improve on, and really learn about, yeah, the previous year and reflect on it, and then look at what is the bigger picture for the next year, and what are those things that we would like to improve on. And one thing I would say here, to keep it very simple, I pick one or two things that I really wanted to focus in the next year.
Excellent, excellent. That's great. Like you have a vision of where you want to go, but again, before we get to that, it's important that we learn to close the year properly, because I think, many driven individuals like
Yeah.
you, like me, we tend to not leave the year as it should, and we carry some of the burdens of the previous year into the new year. And I'm curious to know, like, I do this, so I want to know like how you do it. But like, that mirror time with yourself, where you could reflect on wins, failures, lessons. Like, do you do something like that? Is that something that you do? And if you do it, like, how do you structure that?
Yeah, I would start off. I do intentionally book a day off, at least to a day. I actually like to go somewhere all by myself and reflect on, and I've done it where I've done a 3 day thing where I just write down whatever comes to mind, and yeah, that's one thing. Paper and pen is still my thing of writing stuff down, and that's when it becomes more real to me, and I can start seeing more clearly what I should be focusing on the year ahead. But like you said, we sometimes just keep going year after year, and we if we don't do this and reflect on and really look back, it's very important to close off the year. Also, you should give you yourself a pat on the back for all the things that went right. So not to just carry the load and think it didn't work out well, and you keep going. So yeah, look at the wins, and then you can start focusing on how you could win in the next year as well.
Yeah, that's so important. For me, I find that I am constantly looking to escalate, and grow. And so having the time to reflect back, even, for the one day, as you said, like that's a great, goal to take one day, set yourself back and review the wins because it's a great self-esteem accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's a great motivator to make sure that it keeps you engaged and motivated for the challenges that are to come, and it doesn't deflate you as a human, right? Because we are
Yeah.
humans after all, and, and we have to be able to reflect, accept the wins, accept the losses, acknowledge accountability, and then rebuild and reload. And so, like, that's the way that I take this time of the year, and really try to get myself in my mind ready for what's to come, right? Now, I notice like a lot of entrepreneurs, can rush in. So what's one mistake that you see entrepreneurs make when they rush into the new year without doing that proper reset?
Yeah, I think it's people talk about all the time. They have all these new goals that they want to start off something in the new year, right? And then
Yeah.
uh, and then half a month in, or by February, they've kind of forgotten about what they or not stayed disciplined to what they really wanted to accomplish. And you know what? The one goal that I already set for myself for 2026 is to be more disciplined, to follow through. So that's my focus on not just setting goals, but then also coming up with a plan how you're going to follow through.
Right. I love it. I love it. I think that's important. Like for me, discipline is so critical. It's so
Mhm.
key to my day, to how I live, because without discipline, you just don't get consistency. And really consistency is the key to success, in my opinion. I could be
Yeah,
wrong, but the way I see it is that from a little kid, practicing every day the sport of choice, or doing your reading, doing what you're disciplined to do, like going to the gym for me is a big one, right? But you always find that they're consistently building habits that will get you small wins that become big wins down the road. And I think, you're right. Every year you see people with the new year, new
yeah,
goals, new me,
yep.
and
And
it's a
it's
challenge.
been me the same way. I've had all these goals, and then man, you're a couple months in and you're looking back and thinking, why did I not follow through on what I set for myself? And looking back this year, those were a couple things. You mentioned workout. You were very disciplined working out, and for me, again, I made a goal I would work out 4 days a week at least, and I have a tough time getting to 2 and 3 right now, and so I need to improve on that. And then also tracking my food intake. I want to get better on that, and so I got a lot of little goals that I'm working on, but the bigger pieces now that I am working on is the discipline around those goals.
And you see, I think that's a better approach because it's simpler,
Yeah.
it's easier to manage, right? You get people, because we've all seen it, we've all heard it. I've been there, where you're like, new year, new me. Man, that's a lot to change. Like you're gonna become a new person in 24 hours. That doesn't happen, right? You're setting yourself up for failure
Yeah,
almost.
and so I think also the thought that just came to mind, even though this last year I'm not quite happy how I followed through on the things that I set for myself, but I think the main thing is now recognizing that and then okay, what are we going to do differently to follow through on those, and don't be too hard on yourself. I think with time you can change that and become more disciplined.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that kind of leads me into like the next question because as you're reflecting and you're thinking back, is there anything that you deliberately let go of? Is there something that you look for in that reflection period to say, all right, this is a habit or an expectation that I'm going to let go of? I'm going to cut it here and start fresh in the new year. Is that something that you do, Willie?
Well, this is something that I did actually a couple days ago where I was starting to look at what are the things that are holding me back from following through? And basically, what I came up with was my schedule is just too much on the schedule every day, and I'm looking at what can I delegate? Like what are things that I really need to get someone else to do for me so I can keep my schedule on what is important to me. So that's what I did just a couple days ago, trying to figure out what do I need to offload off my plate.
Yeah, that's so important. It is doing that ability to just let go and habits. Maybe, it's like you've said, your schedule, it could be this task isn't for me. This is a task that could be delegated, it could be outsourced, and free up your time to get you leverage again.
Yeah. And I always have to remind myself as a business owner, entrepreneur, um, I look at it this way: the better team you can build around yourself, the more successful you can be. So it's not you working harder, work harder on building the team around you.
Yeah,
Some,
absolutely. And that's critical as the entrepreneur, the CEO, the operator. It's important because one or two people don't have the same bandwidth as 10, 15, 20
yeah,
trained, capable, built up workforce, right? And team alignment. Like it doesn't have the same bandwidth and power.
yeah.
So yeah, it's important. Like I do think about the same things, and I'm often in that operator seat where I have the task of managing the day to day and and really trying to get results. And so it's a constant reflection, daily almost. And sometimes it's like, man, you beat yourself up and you think like, did I make the right choice? But what I
Mm,
learned, especially at this time of the year is that I like to see uh, all of the wins, all of the losses, and I say, all right, the losses, those were learning opportunities. We know we've already put actions to fix those, so I'm not going to dwell on them. Right now, what I'm going to look to specifically is where can we improve? What is the gaps that we have to close
mm,
to get us to become better in the new year? Better output, better alignment, better culturally.
mm,
I'm always looking at those things because I think it's important that again, I always keep going back to the fact that we're humans, but we're all motivated differently. And so some people have motivation because they're driven by the culture of the organization. Others are driven because of the pay. Others are driven just by the fact that they like being attached to that brand and to that company. And so it's like you always have to improve on all little pockets. And so I always look at the beginning of the
mm.
year, what are the critical holes? What can we look to improve there?
Yeah. And I was thinking I should ask the question back to you on for you personally. How do you end the year and then start the new year off?
Yeah, I have this like 7-day ritual thing that I've been doing for the last five
Mm,
years. And so I really start in early December. And so I start then and I start to compile all of the information that we've accomplished for that
mm,
year. And so like normally after those November financials come out for me is like that's the end of the year because December you're really like you're not going to impact
mm,
it. It's already done, right? You really only work like customer wise, revenue wise, it waterfalls. So I'm like, November is really the truth. And so from then I start to look at what were the goals achieved? Like, did we achieve our financial metrics like we said we would? Did we attain our service levels like we said we would? And have we prepped to close off the year into, December? And then I start into that reflection period, and I call it like the 7-day period. So I start off with, again, reviewing where we went off. How am I going to personally improve and identify gaps that I saw? So like this year, as an example, for me, I found I was too scattered. I was all over the place. I had too many
Mm,
commitments that I had put myself into. I started too many businesses in El Salvador. I went to three, then I went to four when I went down there in
mm,
August. The commitments where I'm at professionally also obviously have increased. I took on more responsibility, and then we have our team here at OBS that is growing, and that requires commitment. So similarly to you, I have now prepared a delegation component of where I'm going to be letting go.
mm,
Of I have a great team in Latin America, and so I have pretty much told the general manager there, I will be talking to you once a
mm,
month. Like, doing our weekly check-ins. I trust that you're doing the right things now. Everything seems to be going well. I'm going to give you monthly tasks. You're going to report back to me weekly, but I am not going to connect with you,
mm,
as often as we were doing. And now we're gonna just give me that time back. And then, for me now, it's becoming about very critical of where I spend my time. So similarly to you, I'm going to be very selective on what projects and what priorities. So this year, 2026 for me has already become a simplified year. So no real estate investments this
mm,
year. So I want to keep those simple. I took on too much of that last year, and it created a lot of stress for me personally. And so I want to make sure that I look at this year as a almost like a stability year,
mm. Yep.
right? And so in those 7 days, I look through all that reflection, improvements, and then I look to plan, and that's what I do. And then I what I like to do in those 7 days is also get engagement from the team that I work with. So I solicit feedback from all of my department heads, and I say, guys, like, what do you see as gaps?
Mm,
What do you think can help you in the next year? Where can I help remove obstacles for you? And once I get all of that, I then compile my goals for 2026 and for the new year. So I've been doing this for the last 5 years, and it's helped me in my personal growth. And I would encourage anybody. It doesn't have to take 7 days. I like to drag it out because I'm too
mm.
busy. But I think it's something that has helped me just get clarity.
Wow. No, there's a lot to unpack, and I would say very helpful tips for anyone listening in this podcast. And I would say, like, I picked something that I was thinking on. Okay, what's my message to business owners this coming year? And it's actually somewhat aligned. What you're going into is kind of reflecting and working on the business that you're involved with, and seeing what you can improve and whatnot. And my simple line was, everything that I'm going to focus on, pretty much communicating out to the world, is going work on the business instead of in the business as much. And so my message is, yeah, let's focus 2026 and working on our businesses to set that up for the next level of growth.
Yeah, and that's so important because as the world economic world changes and shifts, we have technology that is changing on us. We have customer behaviors that are changing just as
Yeah.
rapidly. And so, geo and political economics are changing on us. And so we have to be able to be working on the business to be ready to react to those changes. Otherwise, you're caught off guard because you have your head, deep into it, and when you come out, you don't even know what's happening around
That's
you.
exactly it. I feel like it's so important right now to remind people about the rapid change in the markets, and every time I focus on working on the business versus in the business, I learn so much, and by doing that. But not only that, you start actually seeing the trend, what's going on in the market better, and yeah, is it an upgrade system that is more aligned with the modern technology or whatever the case it is, and I have helped a couple businesses this last year implement a couple new tools, and it's been amazing to see their progress on and also when I asked them how they feel about it, they can't believe that how much has changed over a year for the better. So I'm excited
Yeah.
what that can bring to almost any business if they focus on really dialing in on working on the business.
Absolutely. And as we talk about working on the business, one thing in my operator mindset goes into play here. And so I'm curious to know your thought as the visionary,
Mm,
right? But for me, it always goes back to practical, to data, to tangible things that you can work on to ensure that you grow, and not let it be led from an emotional standpoint. New year, you might be emotionally recharged to grow in a way that may not be healthy for your
yeah.
business. So how do you separate like that emotional impact to reality when you're planning next year? Is there a way that you can differentiate that?
Business owners listening to this, I look at business as there's three departments that are so crucial to a business. So let's visualize on an organizational chart the sales and marketing department. So sales and marketing is being the one department. And then the second department is the ops department. And third is the finance admin. And
Right.
what I'm starting to do and have helped business owners is now let's put those three departments on a whiteboard, and let's ask ourselves how strong are we in each department and give it a rating from 1 to 10. And and if your numbers are all over the place on your rating on these departments, we need to focus on getting those departments' strength level up to the same level, and maybe lift everything up before you can really set big goals to grow your business. If those departments
Yeah.
aren't aligned, you will endure a lot of chaos. And I'm speaking from experience. This is where I lived back in 2018. Um, we actually sales and marketing was doing well in our department, and our operation was not. We weren't following through well. Our team was not aligned, and we endured a lot of chaos. And once we got each department firing on all cylinders, it was like we were unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great best practice when you really, define it at its core. It's let's take the emotional thought out of it. Let's just be open and
Yep.
honest. Let's scorecard it, give it a number, and go work on the lowest number at its simplest form.
Very
Very straightforward.
exactly.
I like it because from there, you could say, okay, like this is the reality of it. You know, you could say, I like Bob. Bob in operations has done well. I think he's a fantastic guy, but the department is struggling. The department's not doing well. Why isn't it doing well? What are some of the issues that they're having? Oh, yeah, they're consistently missing on service deliverables.
Mm.
They're on time is not there. They're, struggling to communicate. However, you're measuring your standard of your operations team, they have damages or lost, cash flow problems, all those things, you could capture them and go work on them. So I think that's an important best practice that you've shared, Willie. That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, now as we move into now like that mindset and you were ready for the new year, I find like I have one for me personally, but do you have a non-negotiable habit that that you're committed to every year?
Yeah,
Like what's one non-negotiable?
yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I usually pick one word that I can remember all year. This is the word, and for me, that was this year the discipline. So that's gonna
Mm,
keep
mm,
coming back every time I feel like I'm falling short on something. Discipline is the word for 2026 for me.
love it. Love it. That's so critical because you can measure yourself with it. You can ask yourself,
Yep,
was I disciplined today?
yep, very easily.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's so important. Like, I have similar concepts, but like my non-negotiable for me, for 2026, is sleep.
Mm,
I found that in 2025, I wasn't getting enough sleep.
mm.
I was running on 4 hours of sleep
Wow,
most nights. And so I have a new non-negotiable that I have already recommitted, and that's that I will get at least 6 hours of sleep in 2026.
that's
And so that will make some changes in my
yep.
day.
No, that's awesome.
Because yeah, you know what, I found that especially as I get older, I don't have the same drive that I normally would. Like I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm getting a little bit older.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing I think is sometimes we're as entrepreneurs driven so much to build businesses and be successful with that, but it really at the end of the day the most important thing is your personal health. If you don't have that, what do you really have? So that is another thing that I actually started focusing on in 2025, and I started seeing that more clearly, the importance of that, and and there again, it's the discipline that has to come with that and follow through.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important. I remember Steve Jobs when he was on his deathbed, right? And
Yeah.
he talked about all the money, all the millions and billions that he had made, and he says, "Man, I would trade it all
Wow.
for just, some more time back in health." And it's important, like we're all busy, we're all chasing our aspirations, but health and family are you just they're so important for us as humans, and especially as entrepreneurs and men, that we give up a lot of that,
Yeah.
and so it's so that critical that we do have that
Yeah.
balance.
And this week I had a small Christmas party or supper that we did with one of our companies, just a small team, but I we were sitting around the table and I asked the question, what is one thing that brought joy to your uh, life this last year? And people had to really think hard about that question. And but at the end of it, it came down to people that they
Yeah.
surround themselves that brought joy to them, and so yeah, the personal, the family, and personal health, and yeah, health was one thing that came up. So it boils down to the health and personal, the people that you surround yourself with.
And that then translate like to your work environment and your business environment, at least for
Absolutely.
me,
Yep.
right? Like like for me, I'll tell you, there when you and I chatted and we met at the hotel coffee shop there, we talked about this business idea. I thought like there's not another business personality that I would like to work more with than Willie, because I think like you and I connect in very many different levels. Like I understand, when you're serious. I understand when you're joking. I understand when you have an idea, and so like I think that working with you helps motivate me
Mm.
because I am driven by your passion and your sense of risk taking that I personally I'm not that way. And so when I see you doing it, I'm like, okay, if Willy's doing it, I trust Willy. Let's go. I'm in.
Yeah.
And so it's cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely do have a habit of taking risk a little bit, and and here I would say I have such a wonderful wife and partner in this where she reminds me of some risks sometimes where I feel like we have a good thing going where it kind of brings me back into the middle of it, but
Yeah.
also she is all good with. She understands the idea behind risk taking, and it's something that just drives me. So I like to challenge people. I like people to think bigger, and so it's just where I live.
And it's important that that you're in your zone because that's what lets you be successful. And I think that it's important, like as we're talking about alignment in business and alignment in the new year, finding the alignment with business partners, with coworkers, with where you want to be, with what you want to achieve the next year is important. So like in the first 90 days, if we fast forward now, we're going into 2026, we're ready for the first quarter. We've done our assessment. We've done our sort of internal gut check. What do you focus on? What is it?
Mm.
First 90 days, what are they really about? Are they about growth? Are they about discipline? Are they about fixing what's broken? Like, how do you take your first 90-day approach into the new year?
Yeah, what I do is on a weekly check-in, like
Mhm.
where are we at on a weekly basis? What are the issues that are coming up? And but then also reminding ourselves on that weekly check-in what the goals are. So yeah, reviewing that on a weekly basis, and then focus and then dial in. Okay, what to dos need to happen the next week, and so you just keep coming back on those check-ins.
Yeah. So it's almost like, let's make sure that we don't, try to overcomplicate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where I am so sold on this. It's like once you have the framework, it becomes so simple. And
Mhm.
so that's what I keep telling people, need some kind of framework to follow, and then it becomes your habit, and it almost feels like it happens automatically once you got the habit going for you.
I think it's so important because, like you start the new year, everybody's motivated, new year, rush, emotional charge,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
fades, right? Like that way very
Very
quickly.
quickly. So this is not just for the first 90 days. This is just how I work through the year.
I think that is such a good takeaway is like forget 90 days. It's
Yeah.
consistency. It's systems, it's routines, it's discipline, which what you talked
Yep.
about, right? It's that. Forget the excitement. It's just let's be consistent, let's be disciplined and ensure that that keeps you on track.
But then at the same time, I do like to recharge myself where I will travel somewhere for 2 weeks and now I'm off schedule, and it's just recharging time, and then when I get back, I know exactly what my framework is to get back in the routine.
Yeah. But that's like a healthy, discipline structure too though,
It
right? It's like
is.
saying, okay, every call, if you're fortunate enough to do it every quarter or, once or twice a year, however you are able to do this, take that time, take a retreat, refocus, reload,
Yeah.
recharge.
I have it even scheduled on my calendar where I then also take it down to a monthly sit down with myself, I call it basically, and spend a couple hours just yeah, just getting myself back on the same page.
Yeah, that I mean, those are best
Yeah,
practices. Whether you're an entrepreneur or an operator, and you're sitting there today thinking about how can I get clarity? How can I refocus? Like that's it. Find yourself, block it in, and we all take on meetings. Put a meeting with yourself on your calendar.
absolutely. Yeah, and I know I think I have some of this stuff from you as well. You always talked about having a meeting with yourself. That really stood out to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's like for me, I like to do it, in the back end of the week, so it refocuses me for what we've accomplished. It's like a reflection because man, there's a lot of challenges as you know
Yeah.
in the transportation world. It's never a boring week
Mm.
to say the and so it's always a thing that I learned many years ago, and I just put it into practice. It keeps me focused for the next week's challenges.
Wow. Yeah. One thing I have to mention here is when I was thinking of what's that word for the new year, I and then came up with discipline, and
Yeah.
then I thought about, okay, so who is discipline, or who is that person that is so disciplined that I could look up to, and I could not come up with anybody else than you, Hector. Yeah,
Oh man, thank you.
I literally don't know a person that has such a disciplined routine than anybody else.
Oh man, I appreciate that. That's so humbling, Willie. Thank you.
It always amazes me how disciplined, like when we were working in our trucking business together, man, just the follow through that you had, and that's why you have been such in success in turning businesses around and their operations. It's that discipline and follow through.
And like it's what motivates me. And some people will call me boring, Willie. It's
Mm,
funny, like I'm such a creature of habit, right? And like I don't do a lot of wild things.
mm. Same here, actually. I sometimes tell my wife, man, I should have more fun, but I guess I enjoy too much just focusing on how to help other businesses, and yeah, it's just that's where I live, where I have actually fun.
Yeah, and that's true. Like that's how I find enjoyment. And you hit on something there. Like for me, the discipline component is what allows me to have the opportunity to help others.
Mm,
Whether that's at the gym where I see somebody struggling or their diet or, business, all of those things. I like to help. And you are the same way. You enjoy helping others, you enjoy seeing their wins. And I think that that's so important for the right mindset is if you focus on helping others,
mm.
it's amazing how that comes back to you, to your business overall. If you think of a help first mentality, servant leadership model is something that I learned a long time ago. And man, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it's one of the principles I go by is by giving is where I feel the most reward coming from, and so that's a principle that I believe really strongly in.
Yeah, it's important, right? And we're getting ready for this festive season. We're thinking about reflection and moving forward. And I think we've hit on some really key topics this morning. But if someone came to you and said, "Willie, look, I can only focus on one thing, one system. What should it be? Like, what would you tell them? What would be one focus point that they could go and implement or focus on for 2026?"
And what would you say, like personally or professionally?
Professionally,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say professionally.
Yeah, I did a little video yesterday recording on like these three different departments that I brought up in our business before, and what over the last year, I've worked with multiple different business owners, and in small business, one department that I see is struggling the most, especially in the last year I've worked with, is the finance department.
Mhm.
It's they don't have financial statements. They aren't, or they're late sending out invoices. They're all over the place. They aren't on top of collecting receivables, and so thinking about that, I've helped now a couple businesses implement a new system, and then really focus on learning that system and really building that system out to work for them in the business. And yeah, I've one that has a great success story on that. Just his company has completely changed because of implementing the right system, and so he can track his inventory and his dispatch, everything going out to the field. Everything is tracked on a daily basis. He knows where he's sitting with his finances. And so, to me, I think if you feel that is a weak department in your business, look at the right system that you could implement in that department.
I think that's so critical because we talk to many entrepreneurs and cash flow, lack of information and data is holding them
Yeah,
back. You know, you everybody knows their revenue number, but do you actually know your cost of goods? Do you know where your money is potentially leaking at, right? Like
exactly.
very few know those
Yeah,
details.
and that's exactly it. This is something that I've always learned. Also, have learned from you is running your business by tracking your data, and then you know where you need to improve or what's working, what's not, and yeah, having the proper data in place is just so key now for me and any business that I'm involved with.
Yeah, and it's important that you recognize, like, also is that the data, the KPIs that you measured shift sometimes quarterly. And so that's why having the right financial team allows you to have the right information because, you might be outsourcing your financial team
Yeah,
today and thinking, hey, that's okay, I've got it covered. Are you checking in with them weekly? Are they a business partner to you? Like, are they a function of your
e-
business? Or are they, a contracted service? Don't treat them that way. They need to be integrated into your business.
exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of times people think, "Oh man, this is going to cost me so much more, or we'll have to spend way more time keeping it up to date." And I literally had a one-on-one with a business yesterday, and we have gotten them now where they have a weekly KPI card that they are looking at every week, and they actually said, man, now once we get have this all set up, it's actually not taking any more time even.
Yeah, absolutely. It becomes
Yeah,
routine. And when it becomes routine, it's like everyday part of the expectation of the job, of the business, and it becomes a habit.
yeah. What is the tool or system that they should implement? Well, we got definitely some good tools here at OBS, so I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, you got to come find out, make an appointment. I think we could certainly help any entrepreneur struggling, any operator struggling. We've talked about there is whether you're a small business entity or a large business entity, we have the tools that can be customized for your business, and we're excited to take those to the market here in 2026. We've been working through 2025 building them out, and man, I'm excited to what's to come.
Oh,
I think we're gonna have many, many businesses turn around and become success stories.
yeah, I believe we're going to help many businesses in 2026 increase their business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We know because we've done it. Like we've seen it, we've experienced it, and so I feel super excited to take these tools to the market. And as we close off, 2025, what's one philosophy, if you could put it in one sentence? what would you say to an entrepreneur out there listening? One sentence, go into 2026 with this mindset.
I would say invest in yourself.
Yes,
Yes.
you got it. You got it. You cannot put a dollar value to learning and growing. It's so important.
Yeah.
Every single year, you have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I started my journey of starting to focus a little more on investing in myself back in 2012. And yeah, I would never look back and said that was any dollar that I spent on that was gone to waste. It has served me very well.
Yeah, I agree. And I personally believe in that as well. I think it's amazing to do that, and put yourself in positions of learning, because we have to be able to grow. And by doing so is putting ourselves with structures that allow us to learn and grow professionally and personally.
Yeah, and
But Willie, we're
just one thing to add here is just coming to mind. I sometimes share with business owners here in Canada that I feel like in Canada we're behind on this mindset of how investing in ourselves pays off. Somehow, I always keep going to the U.S. for personal development conferences, and I feel like somehow they're ahead of us. So let's change that trend in Canada and start investing in ourselves, and we'll see everything around us grow as well.
I agree. We don't have to look somewhere else. We have talent here,
Yes.
and we can learn from each other here in Canada. Great point, Willie. Amazing. Well, I thank you again for your time today. It's been great to talk to you one on one. I know we don't get this chance often anymore, but it's really a pleasure to be working with you, and building out OBS. And I'm excited for what 2026 will bring, for all of us.
Likewise.
Excellent. Well, we'll leave it there, and tune in. We're gonna see you back through a regular scheduled calls and podcasts in the new year.
Very good. Thanks for your time,
Thanks.
Hector.
Thanks, Willie. All right. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Inner Circle. If something in today's conversation resonated, inspired you, or gave you a breakthrough, please share it with someone you care about. The right idea at the right time can change someone's business and their life. So make sure you follow the show, leave a review, and stay connected with us, because this community is built on relationships, real support, and real growth together. Remember that clarity means nothing without action. So choose one insight from today, put it into motion this week, and notice the shift. Thank you for being part of this journey, for showing up for your growth, and for being part of the Inner Circle community. See you in the next episode, and let's keep growing together.